back to Little Miss Lorraine. I have a bit of a different video for you today. I've been tagged by the lovely Holly from Holly Sews to do her seamstress tag. I think it's such a great idea to get to know all of our favourite sewing vloggers or sewing bloggers. I'm not going to tag anyone because all of my favourites have already been tagged, but if you do want to participate, I'll leave the questions down below. Feel free to do a video on them, a blog post on them, whatever suits you, and make sure you use the hashtag, the seamstress tag, so that we can find you. Let's jump into the questions. Question 1. Who are you? My name is Jess, I'm 25 years old and I live in Adelaide, South Australia with my boyfriend Kenneth and our animals. So we have Bailey, our border collie, Opal, our rainbow lorikeet, and 4 hens. We bought our first home last year and we've been renovating that ever since. It's a cute little bungalow and I've loved being able to put our own stamp on the place. I also run the blog and online store Little Miss Lorraine, so if you haven't already, make sure you pop over and check that out. We sell handmade goods via Etsy and our online store, so that keeps me pretty busy. I also work a 9 to 5 at a local school, so that's really great just to have something a little bit different. Question 2. When and why did you start sewing? I have always been around sewers, so my grandmother and my mum both sewed. They sewed a lot of our clothes when we were younger. So my grandma was probably my biggest influence. We had little sewing boxes at her house, probably from around the age of 7 or 8, and she filled it with fabric scraps and pins and needles and all the things that we would need to sew some projects. So we started off sewing just bits of fabric together and made I don't even know what. But she was always really encouraging and she always let us go on her sewing machine when she was around so we could give that a go. So I guess I've always been exposed to it. I probably have really started sewing maybe 4 years ago, I think it was. My mum suggested that I get back into some crafty things just with some personal issues that were going on, and I started off with the knitting, and then my grandma moved into a nursing home and handed down her sewing machine to me, which was really special. I actually have 18 cousins on my mum's side, so for her to choose me to have her sewing machine was just so lovely, and every time I sew I think of her. So once I got that, I started just sewing little things like cushion covers, and the first pattern I ever sewed was the Cocoa top by Tilly and the Buttons. And yeah, pretty well from there it's just gone on and on and on. This year, obviously, I've started making videos on this channel with the view to have a 99% handmade wardrobe, so I've definitely been doing a lot more personal sewing this year. I do a lot of sewing for Little Miss Lorraine, so it's nice to have something for me when I'm making so many things for other people. Question 3. What is your proudest make? I'd have to say my proudest make is probably my first Cocoa top. It was the first piece of clothing that I ever made and it actually turned out, which was amazing. I actually do still wear it today. It has a few little things wrong with it, but I still wear it around the house, and that was probably 4 years ago, so I'm really happy with how that one turned out. In regards to recent sews, probably my Deer and Doe blouse, just because it's the most complicated thing that I've made, and although there were a few things that weren't quite right with it, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'll insert photos so that you can see them. What is your most disastrous make? There's been quite a few of these over the years, a lot of them that I don't have anymore. I've made skirts that don't fit, I've tried to insert zippers that just do not work at all. Most recently though, probably my most disastrous make are my 2 attempts at the leggings, in the manila leggings from Seamwork magazine. The first time I could sort of understand because I think I didn't use a stretchy enough fabric, but the second time I used a really stretchy scuba knit, and I'd read other blog posts where people had used scuba knits, so I'm not really sure what happened. They are extremely tight, and yeah, I'm not even going to attempt them again because that's my second try now. But yeah, in most recent terms, that's probably my most disastrous make. But there have been so many over the years that I have pushed to the back of my mind because I just want to get on and sew some nice things. Question 5. Where is your favourite place to go fabric shopping? So in terms of in-store fabric shopping, there's not a whole lot in Adelaide. We're not quite as lucky as the eastern states. So I always shop at Spotlight because that's really close to me and it's the biggest like fabric store near us. There are a couple of other fabric stores, but they're a little bit further away for me to go, and some of them are a bit expensive. So I tend to do most of my in-store shopping at Spotlight. They have a really great range of fabrics, but probably on the cheaper side. If I'm looking for something a little bit nicer, I go to Tessuti. So they are based in Sydney and Melbourne. They are a little bit more expensive, but their fabric is absolutely gorgeous and the service is amazing. I'm always surprised by how quick things get to me when I purchase from them, and the shipping is really reasonable. So they're definitely somewhere that I shop online when I do buy online. I'd love to buy from places like Sew Over at London and a few other international ones, but the shipping is just ridiculous. It's about $30 or $40 to ship to Australia, so I tend to try and stick to Tessuti if I want to buy some nicer stuff online, or Spotlight, which is my sort of regular store. What is your most used pattern? I don't really have a lot of things that I've made from one pattern. I sort of tend to go from one pattern to the other. So yeah, my most used pattern, I don't really know. I've made a couple of the Megan dresses from the Tilly and the Buttons book, and one of them is my favourites, but that was a hack. I am planning on making more Sew Over It ultimate pencil skirts. I really love that pattern and I think it's just, yeah, the perfect pattern. And also the Mabel skirt, the version 3. So there are a couple of patterns now that I'll definitely make more things out of. The Molly top from Sew Over It. But I don't really have multiples of patterns in my wardrobe at this point in time. Question 7, your most dreaded sewing task. My most dreaded sewing task is unpicking. I can't stand having to unpick things. It just annoys me. I get so frustrated when I have to unpick. Although it has gotten easier lately because I've invested in an ergonomic seam ripper. So I'll insert a photo of that here for you. It's just a way bigger seam ripper and it makes it so much easier to seam rip. So since I've got that, I haven't minded so much, but I just can't stand that, and I don't like how much time it takes out of my sewing having to unpick something. So when I first started sewing, I wouldn't unpick it because I couldn't be bothered. I'd just run with it. But now, obviously, I want my makes to be of a higher quality. So if I need to undo something, I will, but it's the task that I just hate. My favourite sewing task is probably pressing a garment at the end, because it just makes it all look like so nice and it's finished and you can wear it. I'm not actually a big ironer in my personal life. I don't really iron any of my ready to wear clothes, but with all of my handmade things I am really big on the pressing, and I just think it really finishes off a garment really nicely. It doesn't really matter what techniques you do or how good you are at sewing. If you don't press your garment, I mean obviously some things don't need it, but if you don't do that, they just don't look as good and it can ruin a garment. So I think that's probably my most favourite sewing task. What is your favourite sewing entertainment? I watch a lot of YouTube videos, so a lot of other sewing bloggers. I tend to stockpile videos and watch them while I'm sewing. Or if I've caught up on all of my sewing vlogger videos, I listen to podcasts. So one of my favourite podcasts at the moment is Elise Gets Crafty. Elise talks to all sorts of different people about what they do, like craft wise, and also about small business. So for me, running Little Miss Lorraine, it's great to kind of get other people's perspectives on small business and also like the handmade small business. So I find that really interesting. I can't sew with nothing. I have to have something on in the background. So yeah, my first thing is sewing vlogs, and then after that it's podcasts. Printed or PDF? PDF, quite obviously. If you guys have been watching for a while, you know that I love PDF patterns. I understand how people don't like them. And I think one of the biggest things that people don't like about them is the sticking. I've actually done a video on how to use PDF patterns, so I'll link that one down below for you if you're interested. I have done so many PDF patterns now that it takes me no time. I think the more you do, the quicker you get at it, and you also, I'm not quite so perfectionist as what I was before. You know, I'd go, oh god, that doesn't line up, and then the notches don't line up. I'm sort of like, just get it down, make sure the pattern pieces are lining up as well as I can, and then when I'm tracing it off, it all works out. I've never had any problems with tracing off from PDF patterns. I am a really impatient person when it comes to new things, so I always want to try new things straight away. So having to wait for a printed pattern in the post just is not an option for me. I've had to do it on a couple of occasions, and that's fine, but I prefer PDF patterns. I also think that they're more cost effective for me because I don't want to spend all of that money on the printed version when I can just print it at home myself. I am planning on doing a video showing how I store my fabric and my patterns, just for those of you who are not sure how to store PDF patterns. I know they're not as pretty as the ones that you get that are printed already, but I think the system that I have works really well, so I'll definitely do a video soon showing you how I store them. What sewing machine do you use? I have my grandmother's sewing machine, so it is really old. It is a Benina Record 830. I'm not even going to attempt to lift it to show you because it is really heavy, so I'll insert a photo of it instead. I love this machine. It's so simple, and I've had no trouble with it up until the last couple of days where it stopped doing zigzag stitches, and I'm really hoping that it's just a bit of a phase and it will come out of that, because if not, that's going to be very frustrating because I do use zigzag a lot. My grandma sewed on that machine. She made my mum's wedding dress on that machine, so I'm planning to make my own wedding dress one day on that machine, just because I think it's so special to be able to use that. I am planning on upgrading next year though, just because I do a lot of sewing on it now, and I think that I would benefit from having a better machine. So I'm looking at getting a Janome, I think. Mum has one and it's really easy to use, so I think that's what I'll upgrade to, but for now that machine is completely fine. It does everything I need it to, but I'm just hoping that the zigzag stitches start working again, because otherwise that's going to be a bit of an issue. Do you have any other hobbies? Yes I do. I can't sit still, so I always need to be doing something. So if I'm not sewing, I am knitting or embroidering or cross stitching, and just recently I've started crocheting as well, so I have a lot of other things going on. I love to read. I do love to bake, but I don't really bake very much anymore, just because there's only 2 of us and we don't eat it, so but when there's a birthday party or something, I'll bake for that. I actually really enjoy web designing type stuff as well, so I'm always changing things on the blog and on the website. I'm currently giving the website a bit of a revamp, so I do enjoy doing that as well. So yeah, I have a lot of other things that I do when I'm not sewing. And that's the end of the tag. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it interesting learning a little bit more about me. I would love to learn a little bit more about you, so make sure you do join into this tag. Use the hashtag, the Seamstress tag, and make sure you go and check out all the other amazing vloggers that are involved. I had a request from my last video to show Bailey, so I'm just going to go and grab her to say goodbye. Oh, she's so big now. So this is Bailey, for those who don't know. She is 1.5 years old. She's a border collie, absolutely full of energy, keeps us on our toes. So she's been keeping me company in here while I'm filming. So I hope you've all enjoyed that video, and like I said, Make sure you check out all the other vloggers that are involved. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!